and welcome. Today we will solve longest consecutive sequence interview question. This one is fairly easy to understand, so let's get into it. Here is the first example. We have this array, and as you can see, the longest integers that comes in sequence one after another could be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we just return the length of it. Second example, we have two zeros, but other than that, it's just numbers from 0 to 8. So the length of that sequence is 9, and we will return it here. Let's see how we are going to solve this problem. Honestly, if we skip brute force way of solving this problem, since we are looking for a sequence of consecutive numbers, the first thing that should lighten up in our minds is that what would happen if we sort the given array. You see, we have our answer by now just by looking at the sorted array. But remember that sorting will cost us O of n log n in terms of time complexity. So it's good to come up with this solution at first, but definitely you know that your interviewer will ask you for some optimization work. The trick for solving this problem is we need to treat every element in the array as the minimum value of all, and then start to look for the next value that comes after it. So in this case, there's no 101 in the array, then we will move on to the next and repeat this cycle. There's no 5 in this case, and there's no 401 for this one as well. But in case of 1, we have number 2. In case of number 2, we have number 3. And if we continue once more, we also have 4 as well. And that is the idea which will end up us in number 4 to return as a result. Meanwhile, doing this, we might keep a streak variable that is incrementing as we find the next values. And as soon as we fail to find next value in sequence, we are done with that specific sequence in the given array. And we will save it for comparing it in the future and move on to the next item in the iteration. Because who knows, we may or may not have another or multiple other sequences in the same array. I mean, a scenario like this one is more likely to happen, but we are missing one big thing here. In order to check for existence of a number, in this case, the check for whatever we have plus 1, technically we need to perform a search on the given array, right? The problem is searching is O of n, and it will not be optimal in our situation here, especially because we are right in the middle of another loop. For that, there's a simple trick, but it will cost us O of n space. The thing is, we can store all values of given array in a set, and this set will give us O of 1 lookup time, and by that we solved our search on array issue. So seems like all pieces of this puzzle comes together, so let's jump into the code to implement it. First, we are going to store all values into a set. For that, we need to initiate our set, then a simple iteration over loop and adding values one by one to our set. Next step for us is to create the longest streak variable and initiate it to 0. This will keep the longest sequence length for us. Now we need another iteration over nums, but this time we will check if the scene set we created has one less number than the current value in iteration. If the set does not have it, then we found bottom line here, the least number in the sequence. So generally speaking, what we need to do is keep asking our scene set for the next big value in the sequence, and meanwhile keep incrementing the streak variable as we find more values from this streak we found. So first we will initiate variables for current, the number in the iteration, and current streak for sequence streak we are within currently. Then, as we discussed, keep asking the set to see if it contains the next value in sequence. If so, we will update and increment local variables of current and current streak. Now, at the end of the loop, we will update the longest streak we had with a simple comparison between the longest streak from the current iteration we found and the previous value for the longest streak. And finally, return the longest streak at the end. Now, if I run this, test cases are passing, and if I submit, we are in a good shape here. Now let's jump into the slides for time and space complexity analysis. So the time complexity will be O of n. You may think that we had a while loop within the for loop. Why then the time complexity is O of n still? The thing is, the while loop will be reached when the number in iteration is the starting number in sequence that we just found. And then while loop will run until, let's say, n times, but for those n values, there is going to be n minus 1 checks. So they will be skipped in the outer loop. So the time complexity eventually could be O of n plus n in the worst case, but it will still end up in O of n. And the space complexity will also be O of n because we stored values in a set. The worst case could be all values in the array are distinct, and therefore they will make our space complexity as O of n. So that was it for this video. Thanks for watching, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I will put a few more links about different playlists in the description for you to check it out. And finally, hope you enjoyed this video and stay tuned for the next one.